Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Cindy Hunter, VP of Client Strategy at Magnitude. I've had the fortune to work with Caitlin for over 3 years now. She's got an amazing background with over 15 years of experience in services firms. The webinar is expected to take about 30 minutes in total. We're leaving some time for questions at the end. You can submit questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll address them when the webinar is finished. I know she's excited to get started and share her knowledge, so I'll turn it over to her now. Here you go, Caitlin.
Thanks, Cindy. Good morning, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be talking about my absolute favorite part of marketing with you guys today, content marketing. We didn't have high hopes for this turnout, to be completely honest, given that it's so close to the holidays, but we have had such an awesome response to this. So thank you all for spending time with us on what I'm sure is a very busy time of year for all of you. So my goal today is to convince you that you need to be doing content marketing to grow your business and to give you a roadmap for how to get there. So without further ado, here's what we're going to cover today. We'll start with why content marketing, period, and then specifically why it's critical for services firms. We'll then define content marketing in a pretty simple way, what it is and what it is not. Then we'll talk about where to start with every single piece of content that you write. Then aligning the content to your sales funnel, which is critical, especially if you want to be boosting sales. Then we'll talk about where to source content ideas. This is a place where I think a lot of companies get hung up. Then we'll talk about creating a successful content strategy, like all of the different elements that need to come together. Then we'll talk about a day in the life of a piece of content from conceptualization through to measurement. And then we'll talk about case studies of services firms so that you can see the kinds of results you can achieve if you do this right. So you've all seen the numbers on content. That's why you're here. You can't ignore the stats at this point though. Like in the bottom left-hand corner here, 9 out of 10 B2B buyers say online content has a moderate to major effect on purchasing decisions. And then this middle one in red, my personal favorite, B2B buyers are typically 57% of the way to a buying decision before actively engaging with sales. There is no campaign that you can run these days that isn't content-based in some way, like whether that content is an ebook or it's simply like ad copy. All marketing is fueled by content. More importantly, what these stats are really showing is that content is how your buyers are making decisions. It's how they're first hearing about you. It helps them decide if they want to engage with you at all. And if it's done well, it shepherds people through the buying process. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about what content marketing is. So the Content Marketing Institute defines it as, quote, valuable, relevant, and consistent content that helps educate a specific audience with the goal of driving profitable action, unquote. It doesn't overtly sell your services. I think that's really important. A lot of people don't understand that. So here's an example. On the left is an ebook that we put together for professional services. It talks about why services marketing is unique, the biggest mistakes services firms make when they market, and what you want to look for in a marketing partner. We've used our expertise to build something that's actually really helpful for a very specific audience. On the right, we have an example of what is not content marketing. This is Magnitude's overview brochure for professional services that talks about our expertise. It talks about our offerings. It's got our client roster in there, how we engage with companies. It is overtly selling our services. So while you need all of these forms of content, you're not going to send your brochure, the thing on the right here, to your email list and expect that people will read it and magically just want to buy your services. That's just not the way it goes. So let's get a baseline. We're going to do a poll here. You'll see the question pop up on your screen. What grade would you give your content marketing today? A through F. A being, I write a lot of content. I am, it's consistent. It's powerful. It speaks to my different buyers. F being, what's content? Content marketing, what? So while you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to share more about the why behind content marketing. From a marketing perspective, content supports all other areas of marketing. And if it's easy, you guys might want to just like pull this poll over to the left-hand side of your screen. So it's the fuel behind all other areas of marketing. Like lead gen, SEO, for instance, you can't rank on Google if you don't have content. It also enables you to build a strong reputation and brand authority. From a sales perspective, and this is what most of us on this call are actually here to talk about, it starts the relationship off on the right foot, right? Like buyers already know and trust you, and you've managed to already sell your services to them in some way. So the selling has kind of been done for you. It also levels the playing field by putting you in the same competitive set as your competitors and helps guide buyers through the purchase cycle. Last but certainly not least, it gets results. I love the stat. 89% of B2B marketers use content marketing. And of the 11% who don't, more than half are planning to begin to use it within a year. The implication of that for you guys is that if you're not doing it, your competitors are going to be soon. So let's have a look at the results from the poll. I'm going to share my results with you guys. Seems like we're a little bit all over the place, right? So we've got some people who are A's who are feeling like they're probably here to make sure they're doing everything right. We've also got a couple clients on this call. If you guys don't give us an A or a B, I'm going to feel personally insulted. The majority of us, I think, are in the D's, the C's, D's, F's, 1F. Looks like you guys think you've got some work to do. If that's the case, I think we're really spending this half an hour right. Kudos to you. Okay. So moving on, why content is so critical for services firms specifically. Now that you know why content marketing in general, why services firms, people work with who they like, right? And in services, you're selling yourself. You're selling your team, your IP, your knowledge. People are buying you. Content proves that you actually know your stuff. It also associates you with brands, influencers, trends in your industry, and that's just because you're writing content about something. And then it humanizes you. You're not just ABC company, you're Dave. In services, content is your brand. So I want to give you guys an example here. My personal favorite services company is a woman run by a woman named Tara Moore. She's the author of a book called Playing Big. And she sells leadership coaching services and workshops around like finding your purpose and your value. Whenever she writes something, she sends it out via email. And I literally stop everything to read this, or I like squirrel it away until I can really enjoy it. So for you guys, think about the content that you read and you stop everything for. How can that translate to your business? So where do you start? Hopefully by now we've convinced you guys that content marketing is actually worth doing. You start with who you're selling to, right? This might seem like a duh concept, of course, but it really requires discipline. We've seen a lot of companies write content because like the CEO wants to write this blog about this topic he cares about, or they want to join in on a conversation, like a trending conversation. Start with your buyers and don't underestimate the importance of that. So here are two real examples from one of our clients in the contact center consulting space. These are buyers, but in marketing language, these are called personas. You'll notice that one of them is business focused. So Susie over here is business focused. She's a senior ops leader. She's thinking about achieving KPIs, improving operational efficiencies. On the right-hand side, we've got John Doe. He's a CTO, head of IT. He's thinking about selecting and implementing technology quickly and painlessly. You need to address both of these different audiences in your content. And that can be really hard because often that means you're creating two different types of content to serve both of these audiences. And then oftentimes your buyers are not the only people involved in a sale. There's a buying committee behind these people. They're the decision makers, but they're not the only people involved. So, you know, there's heads of business units, there's consultants and advisors. You want to make sure that if you get their attention, because if you don't, you're not going to be pushed along any further. You want your content to be shared through these buyers and enabling the committee to make a decision. Okay, so once you've got your personas in mind, you want to figure out which content to write based on your sales funnel. So there's a number of different types of funnels out there with different categories here on the left. In general, this is the way that we think about it. It's simple for us. We also add client growth at the bottom because that's really important for services firms in particular. So what we've done is we've ranked all of the different types of content here on the right according to effectiveness, and that's by research from the Content Marketing Institute. So if you're aiming to get eyeballs on your website, for instance, and drive awareness, like all the things up here in green, you want to write blogs, right? They're pretty easy to put together. They can add a lot of value for people, and they drive traffic to your website. If you want to get leads here in the blue, think about guides or ebooks. They're more work, of course, but they're lead generating. So you get your money's worth because you get a lead at the end of it. If you want to get more sales, here in the red, write case studies. You want your prospects to start seeing the way things would actually come together if they worked with you. And then to grow your existing accounts, think about things like a client exclusive forum where they're sharing successes between them and lessons learned, for example. The goal with this is for people to be able to pick and choose the content that they want when they want it. And you have to kind of have content from all of these different areas. So for you, I encourage you to think about if you're doing content marketing currently, and it seems like based on our poll, there's people out there who are not, there weren't a lot of Fs. So you're doing something. Where is your content falling in this funnel? Is it are you more on the awareness and you need to be thinking about maybe evaluation and decision? Something for you to think about. Okay, so now that you know the purpose of your content, what it's trying to achieve, let's figure out what we're actually going to write about. So let me start by saying that we group topics into 3 to 4 overarching pillars or themes, like major areas to focus on for the year. This is where we start so that content is actually building towards something and it's not all over the place. So you can source topics from keywords. The magic trifecta for keywords is high volume, high suggested bid, low difficulty to rank for. I'm going to say that again. High volume, high suggested bid, low difficulty to rank for. We can do a whole webinar on keywords alone, but know that this should be part of your content planning process. You can also source from sales, customer, ecosystem conversations. Think about what questions your prospects or customers are asking you. Like, what are they struggling with? What successes have you helped them put in place? So for that same contact center consulting company we mentioned earlier, their prospects were asking them questions like, how do I improve agent turnover? And like, which contact center technology provider should I use? So what they did is they wrote blogs that answered those questions, and they were very successful. So you can also source topic ideas from industry news and trends. What's trending that you have a perspective on? Like for the contact center consulting company that I mentioned, trends were cloud, omni-channel, and AI. So their content needed to be addressing that in some way. You can also source from content planning tools. Our personal favorites are SEMrush and BuzzSumo. And then you can also source from competitors. So what are your competitors writing about? What's your unique spin on that? But remember to take competitor content with a grain of salt. Like, the point is not to copy their ideas. That's not what we're encouraging at all, but to be informed by them, because like what they're writing might not even be working. So here's an expert tip for you. Create content with partner firms that have similar target audiences to grow your reach exponentially. So one of my clients has done an excellent job with this. They're an executive search firm that targets the biopharma industry, which is notoriously difficult to penetrate. They did a series of reports on the state of the Boston biopharma ecosystem, and they partnered with other firms that had strong relationships in biopharma, one of which was Goodwin Law, one of the biggest law firms in the world. So obviously that was awesome for brand awareness, and it was great for leads. It also helped to like build the relationship between them and the partner firm, which is awesome. So I'd encourage you to think about what firms out there have similar target audiences and a strong brand presence that would be willing to partner with you on content. Okay, so now you've got your buyer, you've aligned to your funnel, and you've sourced your topic idea. Now it's time to map out your content in a strategic plan. So why do you do this? You want to be proactive about your content, not reactionary. Things are going to come up though. Like, even when you create your plan, things are going to come up, but you want to at least have a good idea of where you're headed. A lot of people ask us how far ahead we plan content. I find that planning for the quarter ahead is a good thing to strive for. We know what content will look like for Q1 for all of our clients at this point. So here are all the various elements that should go into your strategic content plan. We'll be following up with a template for you guys to use with definitions for each of these areas. So I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I do want to discuss two. So in the middle top here, existing. If you have some existing content that's really working, we encourage you to don't do more like it, do more with it. So add a video to it, make an update to it, like create an infographic out of it, do more with that piece if it's working. Another element I want to discuss is this gated concept. So for my non-marketers out there, gating something means that it's like behind a form on your website, so people have to give you their email in exchange for it. There's a lot of discourse around this right now, specifically the idea that you should never gate anything. I think the jury is still out on this for me. Like, we get a lot of really good leads from our content that's gated, where people have to opt in, and they opt in for us to market to them. So I'm not ready to convert to non-gated anytime soon, at least not non-gated entirely. All of these things need to be addressed to keep the content train running on schedule. So speaking of a content train, here's a day in the life of a piece of content. So what we've done, we've illustrated this like a train because there's a lot of similarities for us. You've got a lot of stops along the way, and you might stop at a station and, you know, people get on, people get off, you stay there for a while, maybe you have lunch there. You know, the conductor changes. So there's iterations at every piece of this. Like, it's not a linear thing, really. So it starts with conceptualizing your idea, then aligning it to the buyer funnel and the buyer in the funnel stage. And then of course, writing comes next. So I want to talk about this because I'm particularly passionate about this. If you're aiming to reach the C-suite with your content, and you're currently having an intern write your content, it's going to miss the mark, right? You need someone who understands your audience, the nuances of your industry, really speaks the language of your audience. So we do a lot of work in the cybersecurity space, and we've learned that we have to specifically recruit writers who specialize in cybersecurity, because otherwise the content just doesn't resonate. It's such a unique space. So you might have a similar situation. Our other writers often can write for a number of different accounts, but not the case with cyber. Kind of depends on your audience. So once you've written and you're going through some iterations there, of course, you want to review for grammar and tone of voice. Super important. Like, I do a lot of writing for clients, and I always have someone review it before I send it to the client, because I'm going to miss the mark. Like, I'm going to miss something. I wrote it, right? I'll miss something. So then you want to have it designed to make it look on brand and beautiful. Then distribute it. Distribute it via social, email, paid ads that are very targeted these days, a contributed article, for instance, send in messages to partners so that they can send it on to their clients. Come up with your distribution plan, and then measure it. Like, there's different measurements based on the type of content. A lot of people say, like, how do I measure the ROI of my content? I would say people overcomplicate this. Like, if it's lead generating, you're thinking about the bottom part of the funnel. You're measuring by leads, right? Like, how many leads have you gotten? If it's a piece of content that's more geared towards brand awareness, you might be thinking about page views on your website, social shares, things like that. So I think a lot of firms out there make this look easy. Like, they're pumping out several pieces of content a week, videos, blogs. Like, no, they've got a full content engine running behind the scenes. This doesn't happen easily. So doing this the right way really generates results. So for one of our clients, just one of the 42 pieces of content that we've written for them generated 223 leads. That's awesome. Another here on the right, they're a healthcare data services firm. They got 784 unique leads from a series of 32 infographics. So I want to talk about that a little bit more, because these leads, they gave away this infographic. It was just on a page on their website, but there was a sign up for their blog and hear more about what this group is doing. And that's when they filled in information beyond this. So they got this infographic and they were like, oh, this is interesting. They took an extra step to add their email address to get more content from them. So those 784 leads were actually really engaged. This really helped, became really well known in their industry, this series of infographics. It really helped them stand out against two really big competitors, and their clients were like thanking their sales reps for this during conversations. They also got a lot of media coverage around this. So I don't know the price point of your services, but for these companies, one lead can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. So having 223 or 784 is a really big deal. So before we dig into questions, I want to share a little bit about what Magnitude does. And 2 sentences here for you guys. We are a B2B marketing agency that specializes in the professional services and cybersecurity sectors. We are full service, which means we can do it all. SEO, PR, email marketing, go-to-market, of course, content marketing. You name it, marketing, we can do it. So for many of our clients, that means we start at the strategic layer and then build a marketing strategy, and then that dovetails into execution. Other clients only need execution. So that's us. All right, Cindy, over to you for questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. We had a couple of questions come in the few minutes that we have left. And the first one is, how many pieces of content should I write?
That's a great question. I would say kind of depends on what you can handle. Our recommendation is to do 1 to 2 pieces of content a month. Obviously, if you had like a huge content team, I would say a lot more than that. But what's feasible for a lot of clients and services companies is like about maybe two blogs a month, and then like one long form piece of content a quarter. So that's like an ebook or a guide or like an infographic.
Great. And another participant asked, should I be writing on LinkedIn or the blog or both?
Another good question. So I would say it depends on your LinkedIn network. So if you've got an awesome LinkedIn network and you have, thousands of followers or connections, definitely post it on your LinkedIn first, and then eventually put it on your blog. But you want to get that traction from LinkedIn. You can have a lot of engagement there. So post it on LinkedIn as like a LinkedIn Pulse post first. I don't think it's actually called Pulse anymore, but post it on LinkedIn first. And then when it's kind of settled a little bit, engagement has settled, then post it on your blog with a little like blurb that says, originally posted on LinkedIn by, and link the name of whoever it was posted by.
Great. And another question is, I know social sharing is very important. How do I get the other people in my company to share my content?
So wouldn't we all love it if they actually shared the awesome content that we're creating? A lot of times that's harder than it looks. I would say definitely make sure that once you post any piece of content, send it via email to your entire team and ask, say, I just posted a new social post. It's about this. Please share, like, and comment. And it continues to like kind of spread the word about what we do. What we often do is create like a draft social post for those people so that it's easy for them to like copy and paste. Or we talk a little bit about like, this piece of content would be really good if you have prospects in the X area, like this speaks to this. So you're really talking to the sales team at that point.
Great. And the final question is, I have a lot of clients, but they won't let us use their names. How effective is a case study without using the client's name?
So I would say that's probably like half of the content that we produce, at least in the case study arena. Like, it's not there a lot of times that you're helping them with a need that they just don't want the public to know about. So I think it's great to just say like a large financial services company or a multinational bank, whatever it is that they are, like make them sound as great and amazing as they truly are. And I don't think it's all that important for you to say their name. That would be ideal. But I think what people really want to see in case studies is like, how would you work together? Like, what are the results that you've achieved? What's the challenge and what's the solution?
Great. Excellent. That's all the time we have for today. Caitlin, thank you very much for all of your insight. You've got a few things to talk about to wrap up, and we'll call it a day.
Awesome. So if you guys have any questions, please email me, and check your email definitely after this, because one person who attended will win a 1 to 2 page client case study written by us. We'll let you know within 24 hours. So get excited. We're gonna make sure that we send you that content map and plan template via email. And then there's also going to be a special offer in there from us if you guys need help kickstarting your content map and plan. So thank you. We appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us, and hopefully this is insightful for you.